The first time Roan saw her, she was lying in a crater behind his cabin. It was just after a storm. Trees were bent, the sky still grumbling in the distance. Roan had come outside with a mug of hot tea, expecting peace. But instead, there she was. Curled in the mud like a broken bird, her silver skin glowed faintly under the grey sky. At first, he thought she might be a doll, some strange statue fallen from a plane. But when she moved, twitching weakly, her long fingers gripping the grass, Roan dropped his tea and ran to her side. Her body was thin, her clothing torn. Strange markings shimmered across her back, half hidden by her dark hair, braided in tight twists. Her face was sharp and alien, but not frightening. Her lips trembled as she breathed, as if she had never tasted real air before. Roan knelt beside her. "Hey, can you hear me?" She blinked. Her eyes were violet, large and watery. They searched his face like a scared animal. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said softly. Her voice, when it came, was barely a whisper. "Do not touch me." But her hand reached out and grabbed his shirt anyway. Roan didn't understand why he did what he did next. Maybe it was the way her fingers shook. Maybe it was the way her eyes begged, even as her mouth refused. But he picked her up gently, like she was made of glass, and carried her inside. He laid her on the couch, covered her with his old flannel blanket. She flinched when he touched her arm, but didn't stop him. "I'll get you something warm," he murmured. In the kitchen, his hands shook as he poured another cup of tea. What was she? Where had she come from? Should he call someone? The military? The news? No, that felt wrong. She wasn't a threat. She was hurt. Alone. When he returned, she was sitting up slightly, watching the fireplace flicker. He placed the tea near her. "I don't know if you can drink this, but it helps. I promise." She didn't touch it. "Do you have a name?" Roan asked, a pause. Then softly, "Valari." "Valari," he smiled. "I'm Rowan. You crash-landed behind my house. Welcome. To Earth, I guess." She looked down. Her fingers clutched the blanket, like it was the only thing keeping her together. Roan sat in the old armchair nearby, careful not to startle her. "You don't have to tell me anything, not if you're not ready." Valari nodded slowly, but her lips parted anyway. "They chased me, across stars, across space. I thought I escaped, but they found me." "Who?" Roan asked gently. She looked at him. Her eyes shimmered like dew. "Those who bought me, used me, broke me." His heart tightened. Valari's voice cracked. "I was born in a place without kindness. We are raised to serve, to obey. Our bodies are currency, and our minds are nothing. I escaped, but my past follows me." Roan didn't know what to say. He wanted to reach for her hand, but he didn't. Instead, he said the only thing he could. "You're safe here." She closed her eyes. A single tear fell down her cheek. "Why?" she whispered. "Why help me?" Roan shrugged softly. "Because no one helped me when I needed it. I won't let that happen to someone else." The room grew quiet. The storm outside faded to a soft drizzle. The fireplace popped with warmth. Valari leaned back against the couch, exhaustion in her every breath. Roan stood. "Rest. I'll keep watch." Her voice was faint as sleep took her. "Your heart is strange, human, so warm, so gentle." And, with that, she drifted off. Roan didn't sleep that night. He sat in the chair staring at the woman from the stars, a being with pain written into her skin. And something inside him stirred, a feeling deeper than pity, something fierce, protective. He didn't know why she had come, or how much danger followed her, but he knew one thing: he wouldn't let anything break her again. Valari woke to the smell of something warm and sweet. Her eyes fluttered open, taking in the soft light of morning. The cabin was quiet, wrapped in the hush of early day. She felt warmth on her legs, the same heavy blanket still covering her. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then she heard soft humming. Roan was in the kitchen, flipping something on a pan. His sleeves were rolled up, showing his strong arms dusted with flour. He moved with quiet care, like he was afraid of making noise, like he didn't want to scare her. Valari sat up slowly. Her body still ached. The bruises across her ribs pulsed with memory. But the silence here was different. It didn't hurt. Roan glanced over and smiled. "Hey, you're awake." She didn't answer right away. Her voice was still unsure. "What are you making?" "Pancakes," he said. "It's a human comfort food. Thought you might need some comfort." Valari tilted her head. "Cakes?" He laughed softly, the sound low and warm. "You'll see." She watched him for a while, unsure what to do with this peaceful moment. In her world, peace had always been a trick, a silence before the next pain. But Roan didn't look like someone who played with lives. He looked tired, kind. He placed a plate in front of her, round golden cakes with syrup dripping over the edge. "I tried not to burn them," he said sheepishly. "Can't promise they're good." Valari picked up the fork hesitantly. She studied the soft texture, then took a bite. Warmth flooded her mouth, sweet, soft, gentle. Her eyes widened. Roan watched her with a hopeful look. "Not bad," she nodded slowly. "It's soft like cloud, sweet like tree honey." He laughed again. "I've never heard syrup called tree honey, but I like that." They ate in silence for a few minutes. Roan didn't push her to talk. He just let her exist, quietly, in the morning light. That meant more to her than he could ever know. After breakfast, Valari wandered to the window. Outside, birds sang in the trees. The leaves sparkled from the night rain. No screaming, no commands. No locked doors, just green, endless and free. "I don't understand," she said quietly. Roan, still sipping his coffee, raised an eyebrow. "Understand what?" "Why are you so gentle with me?" she asked. "You don't know what I've done, what I was forced to become." Roan put down his cup. "Because none of that matters now. You're here. You survived. That's all I need to know." Valari turned to him. Her voice wavered. "But I am broken." He stood and walked toward her slowly. "Then let's be broken together. I've got my own scars, you know." She looked into his eyes. There was no pity there, no fear, just understanding. That scared her more than cruelty. "You don't have to be alone anymore," Roan said softly. "Not while you're here." She didn't know how to answer. Her body ached to believe him, but trust was a hard thing. Still, when he reached out and gently brushed a loose strand of hair from her face, she didn't pull away. "May I stay?" she asked, her voice barely more than breath. Roan smiled, soft and sure. "As long as you want." That night, they sat on the porch together, wrapped in an old blanket. The stars were visible above the treetops, and Valari stared at them with a mix of longing and fear. "I used to love the stars," she whispered, "before they became my prison." Roan rested his hand near hers, not touching, just near. "Now." "They're free again, just lights in the sky." Valari glanced at him. The wind brushed her cheek like a kiss. "You are strange, Roan, but I think I like your strangeness." He smiled. "You're not so normal yourself." She laughed softly, the sound catching in her throat. It was the first time she'd laughed in years. For the first time, something inside her shifted. A crack opened in the walls she'd built so high, and through that crack his warmth slipped in. She wasn't healed. Not yet. But she wasn't alone anymore. And maybe, just maybe, that was the beginning. The next few days passed like a quiet dream. Valari stayed in the small guest room Roan had barely used before. He found her a set of old clothes, loose shirts and warm pants that she tied at the waist with a bit of string. They didn't fit perfectly, but they were soft, safe. Every morning, Roan made her something new to try: toast with honey, oatmeal with fruit. Once, he even burned a batch of eggs, and Valari laughed, really laughed, when he tried to scrape the pan clean like it was a beast that had betrayed him. That sound, her laughter, stayed with him all day. Valari spent her afternoons sitting near the window, drawing strange symbols in a notebook Roan had given her. When he asked what they meant, she hesitated. "They are my language," she said. "The one they tried to take from me. I write so I don't forget." Roan nodded. "Then keep writing. I'll bring you more notebooks if you need." She gave him a small smile, eyes soft. "You are not like them." "Like who?" "The ones who look but never see. You listen. That is, rare." He looked away, feeling a strange heat in his chest. No one had said something like that to him in years. Later they went for a walk through the woods behind the cabin. The leaves crunched under their feet. Valari kept close to his side, her eyes darting toward every sound, every bird cry or squirrel scurry. "I used to dream of forests," she said, "but I never thought I would walk in one, not freely." Roan glanced at her. "You can walk here as much as you want. It's your forest now, too." She blinked. "Mine?" "Yeah, everything I have you can share." Valari looked around like she was seeing the world through new eyes. She reached out and touched the bark of a tree, her fingers tracing the rough lines. "It feels real, solid. I like that." They found a small clearing where the sun broke through the trees. Roan sat on a log and Valari stood with her face tilted up to the light. Her arms stretched slightly, soaking in the warmth. She looked radiant in that moment, strong, alive. Roan couldn't help but watch her, not like an object, but like a person rediscovering their soul. There was something beautiful about her resilience, the way she didn't hide her pain, but still stepped forward. She turned suddenly and caught him staring. "Why do you look at me like that?" He cleared his throat. "Sorry, I didn't mean—" "It's not bad," she interrupted. "Just strange. I'm not used to being seen with soft eyes." Roan stood and walked toward her slowly. "I don't see your scars when I look at you. I see how strong you are, and how brave." Valari's breath caught. She looked down. "I am not brave. I only ran." "You ran to survive," he said gently. "That's courage." She lifted her gaze again, and something unspoken passed between them, quiet but strong. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the trees, Roan found her sitting on the couch, staring into the fire. "I was marked," she said suddenly. "Sold. I still have the brand." Roan sat beside her. "You don't have to tell me." "I want to." Her voice trembled, but she didn't stop. "They burned it into my shoulder when I was 10. It meant I was property. They told me I would never belong to myself again." She lifted her shirt slightly, just enough to show him the dark scar on her back. It twisted in a cruel shape like a chain. Roan didn't look away. He didn't flinch. He simply reached out and touched the unburned skin nearby with the back of his fingers. "That's not who you are," he said. "That's just what they did." She shivered. "How do you do that?" "Do what?" "Touch me without hurting." Roan's hand lowered, resting beside hers. "Because I want you to feel safe. I want to earn your trust, not take it." Valari looked at their hands, so close but not touching. "Do you think I can be whole again?" she asked. "I don't think you were ever broken," he replied. "You were just buried. And now, piece by piece, you're rising again." Her eyes shimmered with unshed tears. She leaned her head on his shoulder, and he didn't move. Just stayed there, letting her rest. And in that moment, her heart, once frozen by fear, began to thaw, softened not by force but by the warmth of his quiet love. The next week brought rain. It drummed gently on the roof of the cabin, turning the forest into a soft blur of mist and green. Valari sat curled in a blanket by the fire, a mug of warm spiced tea in her hands. She had never known such peace could exist. It wasn't just the quiet. It was Roan. He didn't push, didn't expect. He let her move at her own rhythm. And each day, she trusted him a little more. She now helped him with small things, chopping vegetables, sweeping the porch, folding laundry, though she often got distracted by the feel of soft fabrics, so different from the harsh uniforms she once wore. Roan would smile when she paused, staring down at a simple shirt like it held a secret. He understood. Everything was new to her. One evening, as the storm picked up outside, Roan brought out an old music player. "Want to hear something beautiful?" he asked. Valari nodded slowly. He clicked a button, and soft piano music filled the room. Her eyes widened. "Is that a human instrument?" "Yeah, it's called a piano. No words, just sound. I always thought it sounded like emotions turned into water." Valari listened, her gaze fixed on the small speaker. The notes rose and fell like waves. It wasn't loud or heavy. It was gentle, like someone crying but in a good way. "I didn't." "No sadness could be this lovely," she whispered. Roan looked at her, heart aching. "Neither did I, until now." They sat together in silence, letting the music speak what they couldn't say. When it ended, Valari turned to him. "I want to learn about your world, your ways. You can ask me anything," he said. She hesitated, then asked, "What does it mean truly when humans say, 'I love you'?" Roan's breath caught. He hadn't expected that. "It means—" He paused, choosing his words carefully. "It means your heart beats differently when you see someone. You think of them even when they're not there. You want to protect them, but also let them grow. You don't want to own them. You want to walk beside them, always." Valari was quiet, absorbing every word. "I've never said those words," she said softly. "Not once, not even to myself." Roan gave a faint smile. "You don't have to rush. They're not something to force." She looked at him then, long and searching. "Do you feel that way? About me?" He met her eyes. "I do." Valari's breath hitched. Her fingers gripped the blanket tighter. "I don't know if I can say it yet," she whispered. "You don't need to," he said gently. "I'll wait, as long as it takes." She reached out slowly and took his hand. Her fingers trembled, but she didn't pull away. "Then stay with me," she said, "until I'm strong enough to say the words back. I'm not going anywhere." That night, Valari had a nightmare. She cried out in her sleep, thrashing beneath the blankets. Roan rushed in, calling her name softly. She sat up, gasping, her eyes wild with fear. "They were there," she sobbed. "I was back in the cage. Back, in the dark. I couldn't breathe." Roan pulled her into his arms before she could finish. "You're safe. You're here. It was just a dream." Her body shook against his. It felt so real. "I know," he whispered, brushing her hair back. "But look around. This is real now. Me, you, the rain outside, the firelight. That dream can't follow you here." She clung to him like he was the only solid thing in a world made of glass. Slowly, Her sobs faded. Her breathing steadied. "Don't leave," she whispered. "I won't," he said. "Not tonight. Not ever." He stayed with her, sitting on the floor beside her bed, his hand wrapped around hers. She drifted back to sleep with her fingers still holding his, afraid to let go. And when dawn broke, pale and golden, he was still there. Her past had shattered her, but in this place, with him, she was beginning to find the pieces again. One at a time, Roan was helping her build something new. Not perfect, but real. And that was more beautiful than anything she had ever known. Spring arrived softly. The snow melted, and the first wildflowers pushed through the soil like shy promises. Birds returned to the trees, their songs filling the morning air. Valari stood barefoot in the grass outside the cabin, her arms lifted, as if to catch the sky. She turned slowly, eyes closed, face tilted to the sun. Roan watched her from the porch, a mug of tea forgotten in his hand. She looked different now, not in her face but in the way she moved. Her steps no longer carried the weight of fear. Her shoulders, once hunched like she was bracing for pain, were now straight, proud. She was healing. And it was beautiful. That night, she sat close beside him by the fire, the flickering glow painting her skin with warm light. "I think," she said slowly, "I've begun to understand what love feels like." Roan turned to her. "Yeah," she nodded. "It's not just comfort. It's knowing I could survive alone. But I don't want to anymore. Not without you." He reached over and brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. "You don't have to be alone. Not ever again." Valari looked down at her hands, then lifted her gaze to meet his. Her eyes didn't tremble now. They were steady, certain. "I love you, Roan," she said. The words were quiet, but they carried the weight of 1,000 broken nights, stitched together by the warmth of this one man's kindness. Roan didn't speak. He simply pulled her into a gentle embrace, holding her like she was the most precious thing in the universe. "I love you too," he whispered into her hair. "I have for a long time." She pressed her face into his chest, and they stayed like that for a long while, two souls wrapped in the glow of something real. In the days that followed, Valari started building a small garden outside. Roan helped her dig the earth, plant seeds. They laughed when the soil stuck to their hands, and Valari said she liked the feeling. It made her feel like she was shaping something. One afternoon, as they worked side by side, she glanced over and said, "I want to stay here, with you, if you'll let me." Roan smiled. "I hoped you'd say that." They built a life not with grand promises, but with simple acts of care. Morning tea, warm blankets, holding hands under the stars. The past didn't vanish. Valari still had days where she woke from dreams she couldn't explain, where silence stretched too long, or shadows stirred old fears. But now, Roan was there to hold her through them, to remind her she was no longer alone. One evening, as they watched the fire crackle and listened to rain patter against the windows, Valari spoke again. "They tried to destroy me," she said, "tried to break me apart piece by piece. But your love, it rebuilt something I thought was lost forever." Roan took her hand. "Not lost, just waiting." She smiled. "Then thank you for finding me." "No," he said softly, pulling her close. "Thank you for letting me stay." Their lips met then, slow, soft, and full of everything they hadn't needed to say aloud. It wasn't a kiss of passion or urgency, but of quiet devotion, of survival, of beginning again. Outside, the rain fell gently. Inside, the fire burned steady, And in the warmth of that cabin, where pain had once lived, love had taken root. Not perfect, not easy, but real. Together, they made something unbreakable, a new life, a new future, a new heart, rebuilt with love.